or we die by the clock. We never turn our back on it. And we never, ever allow ourselves the sin of losing track of time.
I decided that I was going to hang out and watch the show because this was getting really interesting. Am I going to go to prison?
Off-the-cuff remarks that sort of changed the course of history. But anyway. Hi, welcome to Comedy Parenting Radio, the show that gives you better miles per gallon on your moped than any other show out there today. We've got Bill in the studio, and we're going to kick it off here in just a minute. But, Bill, thanks for coming up here today.
Yeah, you bet.
And, well, we'll be right back.
I like my steak well done, the taters fried, football games on Monday night. It's just who I am, a meat and potato man.
Guess who needs to laugh the most? Your dentist. Day after day, they look into mouths of people with rotten teeth and bad breath. Give your dentist a breath of fresh air by sending them a copy of Dad the Tooth Fairy Didn't Come, and soon they'll be reclining in the chair and you'll be running the drill. To pick up your copy, send $20 check or money order to Tooth Fairy, 400 Prospector Trail, Marble, Colorado, 81623. That's Tooth Fairy, 400 Prospector Trail, Marble, Colorado, 81623.
You're listening to Comedy Parenting Radio.
That's just in. Scientists discover that Canadian bacon is actually ordinary ham.
Okay, we're back with Comedy Parenting Radio. Bill, I have a confession to make.
Okay.
My lips are still back in the desert. We just did a 3-week trip. My brain is here, but my lips are back there. So if I'm stumbling over things, it's because they're all dry and crusty.
That's okay, because my lips are sealed.
Okay, Bill, we were talking about some potential wiretapping. Folks out there want to know about wiretapping. I get emails on this every day.
Well, this was back in the day when we actually had wire telephones. And I was just hanging out in the living room one day. I was about 8 years old. And it was a warm summer day, and I heard a knock on the door. So like any good kid, I just let my mom answer the door. And
Mom, there's someone at the door.
Something like that. And I saw a telephone lineman at the door talking to my mom. I didn't give it much of a thought, but he had a kind of a serious tone in his voice, and pretty soon my mom invited him in, and I noticed that my mom was kind of white and shaking, and the next thing I know, I heard the lineman say, "Would it be okay if I went around the perimeter of your house and looked for some wires that maybe aren't authorized by the telephone company?"
Oh, that's bad.
At this point, I started getting pretty interested, and my mom said sure, and very soon he reappeared and said yes. There was, in fact, a wire coming out of the basement casement window that was not an authorized AT&T or Bell, Michigan line, and that he would have to file a report, and he would be getting back to our family. So at this juncture, my mom called my father at work and told him, "You better get here pronto." So I decided that I was going to hang out and watch the show because this was getting really interesting. I had no idea what was going on, but I knew that it probably involved my older brothers.
I got to stop you just for a second here, Bill. I know that when we were little dudes, the telephone lines were like, they were almost sacred, weren't they?
Yeah.
Nobody touched them back then.
No.
And it wasn't until I was a teenager and my older brother started messing with telephone lines. We're like, "You can't do that." And he's like, "Yeah, of course we can. But go ahead and continue with the story there."
Well, my father, he reappears at the house in short order, and they summon my brother Pat. Pat's 11 at this point. It turns out that Pat and his buddy Steve, they had conspired to wiretap a telephone line. And
11 is the perfect age for this. You get to get the little electrical kits, you know.
Yeah. So this girl named Monica had moved in across the street from Steve, and Steve would look out through his bedroom window and see her talking on the phone all the time, and he had a crush on her. So he talked to my brother, who he knew was pretty smart, and said, I need to tap into her telephone line so I can find out who she's talking to. Well, Pat was up to the challenge, and he figured it out in short order. And, of course, we had a telephone pole in our backyard that was 3 houses down from Monica's.
Ooh.
And he figured out what line it was, tapped into it, and what do I say? What else is there to say?
The rest is history. Now, did your brother ever go on to work for the CIA?
No, but they were probably looking for him.
They probably were. You're listening to Comedy Parenting Radio with Bill up here. We'll be right back.
Cowboys like us sure do have fun, racing the wind, chasing the sun. Take the
Norm Balone is a retailer. He doesn't use radio because...
Can't see things in radio.
So to show him that hearing is seeing, we blindfolded Norm and tied him to a chair in his living room.
What are you doing?
We're sawing a hole in your floor, Norm.
Listen, I know radio works. It's okay, really.
Now we're filling the hole with water.
I like radio, I do.
Now we're throwing alligators and sharks in the hole.
No, please, take off the blindfold.
So, Norm, still think you can't see things on radio?
Well, not like TV. All right, I can see.
A message from this station and the Radio Advertising Bureau.
Speak up, because you can. Your mind is a powerful tool, and so is your freedom of speech. So use it. It's what separates you from being a number to being an individual. Thoughts, beliefs, opinions, creativity. It's what makes you, you. Stand proud and say it loud. Know your rights. Know your freedom to speak. This message is brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters, Education Foundation, and the Broadcast Education Association.
Well, here we are, Comedy Parenting Radio, and we haven't been firebombed any time in the last 3 months here, so we're going to continue the show. We got Bill up here right now. Bill, you've had some weird things happen to you growing up, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. It was an interesting time. It was interesting family. Yeah.
Now, how many people in the family again?
There were 7 of us.
Wow.
Yeah.
And where did you fall in that?
I was the very youngest. I was the runt.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. Little runty Bill.
Yeah.
Little Billy. Did you have any nicknames?
Billiam. I know.
You could make a lot of jokes out of that one.
Oh, well,
Bill.
they did. Yeah.
Billionaire, whatnot.
I'd kind of like that one.
Billionaire. And what did your dad do?
Dad was a chemical engineer, and he worked for a large chemical company.
Mom was a stay-at-home mom?
She was a stay-at-home mom.
As most of the mothers were back then.
Yeah. I was going to have to do summer school all summer with my mom, catching up on all the homework.
You know,
and especially math.
At that age, the word summer school is sort of like like the firing squad, you know?
Well, it was kind of like, am I going to go to prison?
Yeah, exactly. That's how we viewed it. It's only the dopes went to.
Exactly.
You idiot, you went to summer school. Sorry, but anyway.
So I told him, yes, I would do it, but I want to get it done really quick so I can have the rest of my summer. That lasted about 4 minutes. And then I just dug my heels in, and I would not do any of my math homework. And my parents tried everything, and they couldn't get me to do it. And finally, one day, in exasperation, I just yelled, "Well, you don't get it, Dad. Math for me is like if you were to learn Russian." I thought I had him.
Yeah.
And then he shot back and said, okay, I'll learn Russian, and you'll have to study math while I'm learning Russian. I'm like, what?
Parents tend to do those stupid things.
So that kind of didn't go so well, did it?
Off-the-cuff remarks that sort of changed the course of history. But anyway.
Right. So back at that time, when you were learning a language, you'd go to the library and you would order these LPs.
Right.
And you would listen to this person. They would speak it in English, and then they would repeat it in the other language. And my dad started getting really into it. And I kind of started getting a little worried because I thought, this was during the Cold War.
Ooh.
With Sputnik and Khrushchev and all that. And, the atomic bomb drills. And people our neighbors were buying fallout shelters.
You bet. We were hiding under the desk in second grade, fourth grade, whatever.
Well, I kind of wondered if maybe my dad was going to get, they were going to think he was a spy or something because he was learning Russian.
Plus, you guys have wiretaps in your house. That's the whole family's in on it.
So it wasn't going as planned. I was still digging in my heels, and my dad was learning this Russian. And then he finally cinched the deal when one night he said, whoever can learn what they have to learn first, I will take them out for ice cream. So if I can learn the Russian alphabet and learn to count to 10 in Russian first, you have to buy me ice cream. If you learn your math before I can learn that, then I will take you out for ice cream. And that cinched the deal because I'm a kind of a competitive person, and I was like, I'm not going to let him.
Plus, I've seen you like ice cream.
Well, I was trying to hide that.
No, yeah. Bill, tell me the story about Neil Kevitz.
Well, Neil and I worked together back in the day at Rocky Mountain Airways.
Oh, my word. That flew into which town?
Aspen.
Aspen, yeah. Rocky Mountain Airways.
And we would, between flights, we would just kind of, shoot the bull. And Neil would talk about his war experiences, and I felt really bad for Neil because he...
Talking Vietnam,
and he had some real horrific things happen, and not only to him but to a lot of his friends.
Mm-hmm.
And he was particularly concerned about Agent Orange because as a helicopter pilot they were the ones that went in and administered it.
Sure.
And they just got coated in it sometimes.
Wow.
They open a door and it just flies back in.
Sure.
And a lot of his friends were getting sick. Mm-hmm. And he was having some health issues, and he wondered if that was part of the reason. And so, I don't know, for some reason, I went home one weekend, and I was talking with my folks, and I mentioned it to my dad. And my dad said, well, Bill, don't you remember I was one of the chemists at Dow Chemical that helped develop Agent Orange.
Wow.
I said, no, I did not know that. What a coincidence.
Oh, my word.
And he said, I just want you to tell Neil, don't worry. It's not going to do anything to him. That stuff is so benign. I said, well, how do you know that? He says, well, all the time you were growing it up, I was spraying it on our yard. Testing it. And you guys are fine.
Oh, my word. You are an Agent Orange baby.
I am.
And look at you, normal, healthy human being.
Yeah.
Okay, we've been up here with Bill in the studio. I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank you for coming out today, Bill.
You are welcome.
And when you go, you can take that little pile of wires with you. Okay.
Okay, but just be careful because I know how to do a wiretap wirelessly now.
Is that it? Is that all you got?